And we're live. Another edition of the Johnny and Gene Show. I'm Felix Levine. To my right, John Alite, and to my far right, Gene Barello. And today we are joined by our guest, John Rubio. Thank you for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me.
So just a quick, I think it's due diligence to give you an opportunity to just give a quick background on who you are for the guests out there, for the people listening that aren't familiar with you, so we can just know a tiny bit about your story.
Well, I was a Genovese associate. Basically, my whole life, since I was 13, I started getting involved. I strayed a little bit, but in the end, I ended up back there, and I ended up cooperating about 9 years ago. It's been about 9 years now.
Okay.
I spent 5 years wearing a wire on the street, 2 years in jail, and I'm home. I'm home for 2 years now, so that's the basic gist of it.
John,
like crime.
John, I want to ask you, who were you on record with in the Genovese family? Who would you answer to?
Patsy Parrello.
Okay, out of the Bronx?
Yeah, Arthur Avenue.
Okay, all right. And what'd you do for him?
A lot of gambling. No bookmaking. Just I got involved with a lot of you guys know, if anybody else doesn't know, sharp professional sports bettors, and Patsy helped me facilitate through threats or whatever, intimidation, getting them to give me their offshore betting accounts, and I would monitor them, sit home, and bet the same games. And we did very well for ourselves. And basically it was gambling, and when I worked with the feds, they introduced, the cigarettes and everything. So that was more when I was cooperating. But when I was a criminal, a lot of sports gambling, money. It was all money. I wasn't part of the violence. I mean, he had enough of those guys, and I made everybody there a lot of money, a ton.
You mentioned Patsy, so I'm going to tell you one of the things that the show is about kids and people losing lives, and no matter what, we don't want to see kids lose lives. And condolences also to Patsy for losing his son some years back.
Yes.
And from what I understand, the guys, me being Albanian, some of the guys that were involved at killing his son were Albanian. Is that correct?
Yeah, he when I was younger. I don't know if I'm sure you guys are familiar, but anybody listening, Patsy slapped Frankie Loke's son.
Tory.
Yeah, he slapped him, and by rights, I'm sure that he should have been punished more severe, Patsy. But the punishment was that whoever was in charge at the time, I was young, they barred him from his restaurant for a month. So he set up shop in Bronxville, New York, and Westchester, and soon thereafter, they caught his son in the literally one block behind the restaurant, and they killed him. And it was an Albanian guy that killed him. And I don't think anything was ever proven that Frankie Loke is the one that hired them, but I mean, it was always assumed. And ever since then, he literally despised anybody that was Albanian, and it was unfortunate for him because Arthur Avenue was full of Albanians, but he wasn't very fond of them.
Well, let me tell people that don't know who Frankie Loke is. Frankie Locascio was the consigliere Gambino family. He's currently doing life. He's got an appeal out, so the people that don't know. And Tory is his son.
Right.
So was there any other kind of retaliation? By the way, can you slide to your right a little bit? Right
Sure.
there. That's good, right there. You had a little light on you. Was there any kind of retaliation for when Patsy's son got killed? Was anything done to retaliate against the Albanians, and I know this answer, but I'm asking you for the people to know this answer.
The short abridged version of it is no. However, without getting into a whole lot of detail about it, was because it, 5 years cooperating, I mean, 7 days a week, there's so many stories, but there was one incident where Patsy had a lot of guys around him, you know, and he didn't have any made men in his restaurant, and Patsy never left his restaurant. If you wanted to see him, you came there. And it always intrigued me that, the Genovese family is very quiet, and I always felt like Patsy was maybe a little bit of a higher rank than what people let on to, because he never left his bar stool. If you wanted to see him, that's where you went. And he had guys around him, and there was an incident when somebody came back and reported him that they had found Victor in City Island. He opened up a restaurant, and they were going to kill him. So it's on, I'm on tape, I'm recording, they're listening to this, and at that point, as a cooperator, you have to try to stop it. I mean, and it goes far at your sentencing too, if you can. But so, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Patsy, but he doesn't take advice, from anybody. I mean, he's very strong-minded. He's not fun to be around. He's miserable. But typical, old school wise guy. There's no joking around. There's no fun. And, I had to, slowly sort of like integrate to him, like, this is the wrong move. Don't do that. They're going to know it's you. And, eventually it died down. But also at the same time, the FBI legally went to City Island and warned Victor. I mean, there was a crazy plan that, to try to get me up even higher with Patsy was, but I don't think, they're not going to tell me everything, but they were going to make him die and then make him, go into hiding, and me run back and Patsy and tell him I killed him. But I don't know what Victor said, but I don't think he was scared. And he didn't leave City Island either. He stood at his restaurant. So in the end, no retaliation ever. Zero.
And the reason why I asked you that, and I know the Albanian mentality, being Albanian, I know that they don't intimidate very easily. And the idea of what I'm talking about, so people understand, is the treachery of this life. A guy gets killed, a young guy, who happens to be a wise guy's son. And the treachery is nothing's done about it. And I'm not advocating for anything to be done about it. I'm advocating for this life's not worth what people think it is. It's glorified. And I'm going to talk about kids being killed. And Patsy could be miserable. Patsy could be a tough guy. Patsy could be a real gangster. Or Patsy might not be. I don't know him personally. But I know one thing. He'll never get over his son dying. And I don't think any parent will. And that's the sad part about the life. And as far as the Albanians, same thing. Hopefully, for their life, nothing happens to them. And I mean that from my heart.
He changed drastically, after his son got killed, and became a heavy drinker. I mean, he came, he set up shop every day in Rigoletto's, and it wouldn't be a surprise for him to finish off 5-6 bottles of wine every day, 7 days a week. So he never really got over it. And, his daughter ended up having twins. And I mean, there was pictures all over the restaurant of those. And I think that he was living his son through them. And, it made it tough, when everything ended. I know how much he loved those kids and everything, but the life is terrible. I mean, I can't say anything good about the life. I could honestly sit here and say that I don't ever miss it. Like, you do legal things now, and you always have that criminal mind or everything, and I think it helps you in legitimate life, but I don't miss any of it. It was treachery. It was backstabbing. It was, and when I was coming up or whatever, when I was really making money, everybody was chasing the same nickel. Right. I mean, it just wasn't worth it anymore. And when you came up with something, 90 guys wanted to get involved in it. So maybe 100,000 turned into $1. I mean, it was just, it's the worst possible life that any gang. And I'm not just talking about the Mafia. Any kid that's in a gang, get out. The end result is death, jail, or misery. I mean, it's just a life of misery. And, I just want to let people know is that I worked with these people for, well, it's 9 years now, because I'm on probation, so I'm still considered an active cooperator, until that day is over, and you're not beating them, ever, period. When the feds want you, you either run or cooperate or go to jail, because they don't lose, and they'll go to any stretch that they can to end you, and they just don't like the Mafia, period. End of story. They want it over.
Right. So, John, I want to ask you: was Patsy was a big earner, right? He had was he a big earner? Or?
He was a big earner. He was into a lot of construction and stuff like that, and he was smart though. He bought a lot of property on Arthur Avenue. He owned the restaurant outright. He owned 3 buildings on Arthur Avenue. I mean, he wasn't broke by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, he wasn't the type of guy that was going to let everybody know exactly what he was into. But yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't hurting.
I'm gonna cut you off, Sean, because I'm gonna tell you something. And you guys know this. The Albanians know it. That he'll never have a life again after that. Doesn't matter how much money he has. Doesn't matter how much he owns in property. It doesn't matter where his life is at. The happiness is gone. And again, I'm going to reiterate, that's where the message is to the kids out there and the parents out there and anybody else that brings their family into this life. There's pain on everybody's end of that. If you're the guy that's doing the work, if you're the guy receiving, getting killed, your family member being killed, and this is what we're talking about, just what you just brought up, that little story. His life is basically gone. It would have been better for him if they would have killed him, obviously.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
He's not going through the pain he's going through. But we just want to show how there is no winning here for anybody, and that's what the show's about for the kids to listen to, the reality.
There is absolutely 0 pluses to being in any sort of organized crime. I don't care if it's Italians, Bloods, Crips, anybody. It's just, I mean, listen, I had power. I mean, in that area. I mean, I walked around. Everybody knew I was with him. A million guys wanted to slap me, beat the shit out of me, but I carried weight, and I was miserable. I mean, I was never home. My kids, my wife. I mean, I'm married 20 years. I mean, my wife's a saint. I was never home. I was leaving. Sometimes I didn't come back for 4 days. I spent hours upon hours in that restaurant. Sometimes his rule was you sat there until he decided to leave, and then you could leave. If you left, you better have a good excuse why you left. And sometimes there wasn't a thing going on. You're just sitting there. And it was a miserable life. It was a grind. It sucked. My life is so much happier now that it's over. I mean, was this the way I envisioned it being over? No, but I'm happy again. I live a normal life. I mean, I don't wish that on anybody. I mean, I don't wish that. Listen, let's be honest. We all know that anybody getting into the Mafia now is a fool. Yes. I mean, it's the fool. Everybody's telling on everybody. I mean, there's no safe haven anymore there. It's just not like the way it used to be. And, I'll mention one guy, and I don't know how far in detail you want to get about him, but Joey Molino, every day for 3 years, told me he's been telling people for 10 years that this life is over. And this is a powerful person saying that. I mean, it's over. This started out as really, cooperate. My original handler said, maybe 6 months. And anyway, it started to take off. And the end result turned into 5 years, unfortunately. But they couldn't keep up with me anymore. I mean, I was everywhere. I mean, I was doing business with Stevie Crea. I was doing business with the Bananas.
Tell people who Stevie Crea is so they know.
Stevie Crea is the underboss of the Lucchese crime family, who just recently got convicted of murder. So I was doing business with all these guys, a couple of Banana guys from Westchester County, from the Bronx. and they just couldn't keep up. And I had went and visit my parents in Florida. They had a summer home there, and I loved it. I never had spent a whole week in Florida, so I came back, jokingly, and I told my handler I want to move to Florida. And he said, "Oh, you're crazy. You're a cooperator. You can't leave here." So about a week later, he says, "Listen, I can't keep up with you anymore. I'm the only one listening to these recordings. I can't listen to them fast enough. You can move." So I rented a place in Florida, and I had to get it approved by Patsy first. I couldn't just leave. I had to ask him if it was okay to leave. So he said okay, and he hooked me up with a couple of guys there, and his right-hand man, his henchman there, was a guy named Buddy Torres. I don't know if anybody's familiar with him, but...
Buddy was a tough guy.
Oh, yeah, certified tough guy. He ran Florida back in the 80s and everything, and then he was Stevie Korea's right-hand man. He was not Italian, but Stevie considered him made in the Lucchese crime family before they had a falling out. He was able to sit down with other guys and everything, but he told me, "Listen, hook up with this kid, Joey Molino. You'll make money with him." So it was funny. The next day, Patsy calls me over. I'm ready to, ship out. And he says, "Listen, do me a favor. Stay away from Joey Molino. Patsy don't want any attention. He doesn't want he doesn't want attention." He said, "Listen, this guy's got an entourage around him all the time. He loves the spotlight. Do me a favor. Stay away from him." Well, obviously, I'm working for the FBI. That's impossible. So to answer you, a long story short, Gene, I made my way to a place in Delray Beach where I knew he was going to be. Somebody introduced me as being with Patsy for over 20 years. And the rest is history. He took a liking to me, and before you know, we were doing business.
Can I ask you one thing, John?
Sure.
The Philadelphia mob, now, there's like nothing. There's like 5 guys. The Philadelphia mob is like a joke almost, but I'm saying, what exactly is his role? He's the boss of 5 guys? Like, I don't understand, like, what is his thing? He what is his whole concept? I know he loves the spotlight. I know he's a gangster. I know he is a bad guy, but what is his actual role? He's the boss of the Philadelphia mob. Do they answer? What is his role? Like, what is he doing? He just walks around. People take pictures of him. Like, that's his thing. I mean,
well, I'll give you a little brief history. Before I left, Buddy had told me, "Listen, this guy's," and Buddy's in the know. I mean, listen, there's no two ways about it. Buddy Torres is in the know. He was doing business with Philadelphia, a lot of construction stuff and everything with George. He was very close with George Borghese. He told me he's the boss of the crime family. Period. That's what he said. Now,
of 10 guys.
Well, yeah, I don't even know if it's that many. To be honest, to be honest, I met 2 guys. I mean, that's it. I mean, and at trial, that was a big thing that they fought that, and Judge Sullivan said that he didn't believe that he was, but I know he is. I mean, listen, I lived with him. I mean, I lived a life with him. I spent 7 days a week with him for 3 years. He used to text me at least 50 times a day. I mean, he's a degenerate gambler. It was all about sports gambling. Right. But listen, whatever came out at trial, I lived it. I know the truth. And no defense attorney stumped me, and I didn't stutter once, and I know I lived it with him. I know what he did. So, and listen, I don't care whether he went to jail or not. I had to testify no matter whether he went to jail or not. But yeah, I met Dominic Grande and I met George Borghese, and that's about it. I mean, I'm not really quite sure. He's very, very friendly. There's a lot of Bananos in Florida, and there's a couple of Gambinos. He is very, very close with Daniel Marino, the son. Very, very close. Danny came to Florida often and spent a lot of time with him. So maybe he's doing business with them or anything. I mean, listen.
Well, listen,
don't get me wrong.
Danny's, I don't know to something like that, but he's a soft kid. He's not a street guy. Comes from a father who was a money maker, and he was, part of the hierarchy of the Gambino family, obviously.
Yeah, he was, and he was just like you said. He was a gentleman. I never had a problem with Danny. I mean, he was always nice. I mean, but he was a normal guy to me.
Right. But here's the difference. Danny has a couple bucks. He makes money. His father was a big earner. Yeah. What are these guys doing for a living? How are they earning? What are they into? Legitimate business? What were they doing for a living?
Are we talking about Florida now, or
Florida, Philadelphia, but in general,
Philadelphia was doing. Florida was big on. I don't know how much you read about the trial. Was big on the pain cream. I don't know if you remember when that was popular about 5 years ago. There was this topical pain cream that was a gimmick, and they came up with this thing where they were billing insurance companies $4,000 or $5,000 a tube. So basically, what we were doing out there is
It's kind of a Wall Street scam, but like a
Yeah.
pump and dump, but just with a cream with an actual product.
right, we were getting doctors. The whole idea was how it was presented to me was go get doctors to just prescribe this pain cream, and every time they do, and the insurance company approves it, you're getting $800. So I mean, this was a no-brainer. I mean, this was a no-brainer. I mean, this was the big thing, and so that was a big part of the case in Florida. The pain cream and the fraud and everything. And as it turns out, I think when my indictments came down, I think there was a big indictment with a lot of guys from Florida that ended up getting some serious time with this thing. I mean, it ended up to be like $100 million scam that ended up, but there were so many recordings and text messages of Joey telling me what to do, where to go, who to see, and everything. And somehow or the other, I mean, whatever, either his defense team or the jury, I mean, they just didn't see it. But he was an intricate part of. He became very wealthy off that pain cream because Brad Serkin was the main guy in Boca. He had the biggest compound pharmacy in Boca Raton, and that was Joey's previous driver from years ago and eventually partner. So, he made a lot of money. Listen, the FBI gave him a lot of money with him thinking that it was coming from illegal doctors. So, it was on tape. He took the money.
Did this guy go to prison, the other guy, the driver?
Brad Serkin went to prison for 5 years. I read that he had just gotten released to a halfway house, yeah. Brad Serkin was a big player in that game. And
Florida is really strict. Florida is super strict out there. I don't know if you know. Florida, their guidelines and their rules are really bad. You don't want to mess around in Florida, I'll tell you that much.
Hey, John, I have a question for you.
Sure.
How does for people out there and people that don't know that much about the Mafia and cooperation and stuff like that, how does federal cooperation work, or at least work for you? How are you approached? And then once you kind of accept it, I don't know if that's how it works, then I guess talk to us a little bit about the process and the experience of wearing a wire for that long. I mean, I can imagine it's a bit stressful.
Yeah, well, I had a semi conversation with John earlier about this, and unbeknownst to me, I was under investigation for about 3 years before they got me, and
For what?
I was selling drugs, and not what you think. I mean, I was a 3 for $100 guy, 40. But I had a lot of customers, but. That's beside. I was under investigation. Patsy had there was a panhandler on Arthur Avenue who was bothering the old ladies and everything, and Patsy was the guy that they went to complain. So he sent me and another one of his henchmen who passed away, Ronnie the Beast, Mastro Vincenzo. He's got quite a bit of. He did quite a bit of work for Patsy.
He was in the Purple Gang, wasn't he?
Yes.
The Beast? All right, yeah.
Yeah,
My
Ronnie
father
the
knew
Beast.
him. Yeah, back in the
Ronnie
day.
the Beast, Master Vincenzo.
Yeah.
I mean, we found the guy one day, and we're chasing. I wasn't even supposed to go, to be honest with you. Ronnie dragged me. A little history about Ronnie. The reason why he never got made was he couldn't shut the fuck up. I mean, period. Phone. He was like whatever crimes he committed, he let 400 people know 10 minutes after he committed it. So I wasn't even supposed to go, but I went. Ronnie dragged me. We find the guy. Ronnie was at that point 500 pounds, out of shape. I mean, but if you saw pictures of him when he was in his prime, I mean, he was an Adonis. I mean, he could fight, but no more. So he couldn't catch the guy. He couldn't breathe. So I started running after the guy, and we end up the guy goes through Umberto's on Arthur Avenue, and everybody's screaming, "Don't do nothing in there. Don't do anything there." I mean, that would have been an insult to the owner, wise guy. So he gets away. So Ronnie calls me the next morning, and let's drive around. It's Sunday. So we're driving around. I mean, this is a funny story. We find the guy. He's in front of a deli on Arthur Avenue, right by the 7-Eleven. So I just stop the car, jump out, go in the deli, and I mean, basically, I'm hitting this guy with everything I could get my hands on. I'm not a fighter, and I never claimed to be. Cans, jars, whatever. I can't get this guy. I can't get this guy. I'm getting gravy on me, all the stuff from the olive cans. I'm drenched. I can't get this guy down. I mean, finally, I must have caught the right can, and I knock him cold. And I'm looking around, and I can't find Ronnie. He's nowhere to be found. So I'm getting ready to run out now, and the owner grabs me. I had a hoodie on. The owner grabs me by the hoodie, and he's telling his wife, "Call the cops." So I mean, at that point, I'm all right. So I'm in trouble. Well, here comes Ronnie. He knocks the guy cold that has me by the hood, and just so he could say he did something, he kicks the guy in the face. The guy's out cold about 5 times, and shit is coming out of him and everything. And I'm saying, we get out of there. So I'm in the car, and now I'm going 100. I just got to get home. I got to shower. I got to get rid of the clothes. What happened, Ronnie? You motherfucker. I couldn't get out of the car. You double parked too close to the other car. He was so fat, he couldn't get out of the car. So he finally must have got out through my side. And luckily at the right time, he got me out of there. So about 3 hours later, I'm going to my card game, and it was across the street from a bowling alley. I mean, that's another story, how we ended up. I was partners with Patsy in that card game. And I'm parked on private property, you know, because Patsy arranged with the bowling alley owner that you really don't have any say, so we're letting our customers park in your lot. And that was the end of it. So a squad car comes up, and, you know, and I'm sitting there talking to my father. He just happened to pass by. He's in his car, and the guy says, well, you know, we got to tow this. Tow it for what? Tickets. I said, listen, I never got a ticket ever. I don't have any tickets. We got to tow it. It's a misunderstanding. Don't worry about it. I said, listen, I'm on private property. You're not towing anything. He says, listen, we're towing it. So they tow it. So now I tell my father, listen, drive me home. I lived in Scarsdale. I wasn't that far away. So I'm driving up. I'm on a cul-de-sac, and I see a car. Taurus, blacked out. All right, it's one. Go a little further, there's another one. Go a little further, there's another one. I tell my father, listen, I'm going to jail. You know, my wife, you know, I just have a newborn. My wife's home. Well, you don't know what you're talking about. Just go get your car. So I go in my house. On the circle of the cul-de-sac is a Dodge Charger. So I know what's coming. So I call my dealer up and I say, Danny, listen, come and pick me up. I don't want to leave with my car. So he shows up about 15 minutes later, and I said, all right, listen, we got to take our chance. Let's go. No sooner did he open the car door, 60 or 70 guys. No feds, though. Westchester County DA, Organized Crime Task Force, New York State Police. I mean, they're all over the place. Guns out, get on the floor. No, get on the floor. So they take me in, and I literally sat there in an interview room for 14 hours. They're begging me, give me anything, give me anything. No, take me to jail. I don't have anything to say. I've been playing cards for 3 days. I want to go to sleep. Take me to Valhalla. I'm done here. And hours and hours and hours and hours. And I hear now they must have got Ronnie because he's so fucking loud. I hear him in the next interview room telling them how he works out. I mean, it was crazy. So, and they're telling me, listen, we got your wife in the other room. And I don't believe them. I left my wife at home. I was in the squad car. So about 14 hours later, the guy comes in, gives me the Ziploc bag and says, you know, you're free to go. I said, oh, okay. So I'm getting on the elevator. Now here comes Ronnie. And I push the thing and the door opens, and here comes my wife. And the guy says to her, I told you he's a scumbag. He was going to leave you here. I didn't even know she was there. I mean, you know, I haven't lived that down since this day. Just, you know, so you know, I hear about it all the time. But I didn't know she was there. So unbeknownst to me, the feds made them make me leave. They weren't ready. So a month later, long story short, I pull out of my house. I'm like halfway around the block, and there's 3 cars block me in. They drag me out of my car, throw me in a car. Another guy gets in my car, and we're gone. And they take me to a hotel on Executive Boulevard in Yonkers, and they bring me in a big conference room. There's like 50 guys there, and agents and everything. And, you know, they said, listen, here's statements from 9 cooperators. We have you. He said, and here's the indictment that we're going to arrest you on. Conspiracy, the drug conspiracy, mandatory minimum 20 years. And now they start playing tapes on an MP3 player of all my phone conversations, drug deals, this, that, and the other thing. So basically at that point, you know, and in between that, I don't want to go on a tangent. Patsy abandoned me after that assault. They took all my cars. When I went home that night, when they finally let me out, there was a warrant on my dining room table. They took everything. They took all my cars for evidence, all the money that was in the house, everything. I had nothing. He barred me from the restaurant. I had to hire Murray Richmond. I had to go borrow money from my father, hire Murray Richmond at 15 grand, try to at least get some of my possessions back. And he gave me not a penny, not a dollar, zero, and barred me from Arthur Avenue. If I had to get a message to him, I had to meet somebody in a corner someplace, and it was just crazy.
What did he tell you? Too hot?
Too hot, and, you know, he sent word through Buddy and Anthony Zinzi. You know, he's a little broke right now. As soon as he gets on his feet, he'll give you something for the lawyer. So I got shit. I paid my father back eventually the $15,000, but I got nothing, and I got barred. And at the time, I think I was telling this to Gene a couple months ago, I had hooked up with a Bonanno guy, and he was begging to straighten me out. And he went to Patsy, and Patsy said, no go, you can't have him. So that's just a mediocre thing. But I couldn't do anything. I couldn't earn. I couldn't do nothing. He had my hands tied. So I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, you know, keep in mind, now I sat in an interview room for 14 hours. Now, I'm saying to myself, these guys came within 3 hours. We killed this guy. And I was ready to go to jail. I was ready. I told them, take me to jail. I'm not saying, I have nothing to say. Give me a lawyer or take me to Valhalla. I'm done here. So 14 hours, I'm sitting there thinking that we killed this guy. I mean, he wasn't moving. And then Ronnie kicked him in the head 3 times with steel toe. So I'm saying, all right, I killed this guy. I'm going to jail for murder. But I wasn't going to say anything. But then when I was in that conference room, I'm saying, this fucking guy left me for a simple assault. I mean, he abandoned me, barred me from the restaurant, barred me. I couldn't earn anything, didn't help me with the lawyer. What?
Well,
what
let me stop you here.
Yeah.
What made you believe that he was going to help you when he never did anything when someone killed his son? And that's his son. And it doesn't matter what anything about saying that people knew that he might do it or any other thing. There was no retaliation for his own son dying. And I'm not saying he didn't love his son. I'm not saying he wasn't sad about his son. But what I'm saying is, because I want people out there to understand, this is the life. His own son, he forgot about. And he can, you know, be sad over. He could be in mourning for the rest of his life. But there was no retaliation from a gangster. I'm not talking about a regular guy that's on the street. A regular guy, that's what you're supposed to do, right? But you're a guy that's dedicated to the mob, supposed to be a tough guy. So your belief is so warped, is what I'm getting at. To believe, and again, I'm not trying to instigate somebody killing somebody, but I'm trying for people to get the understanding of how this life manipulates other people. Because regardless, he never did anything about his son getting killed. And,
life went on. And
I know Albanians are tough guys because I'm an Albanian. I understand their mentality. I understand if he tried to go after them, they'll go kill him anyway. So,
yeah.
But it's still his son. And if he didn't have the loyalty to do that, he's a gangster. Supposed to be a tough guy. What made you really believe, this is, you got to really think about this, that you were going to be any different to him?
Well, I've often thought about that, and I thought that you might ask me that. So, the God's honest truth, and it, you know, it's people are going to say this, and it's embarrassing to admit it, but I idolized him.
No, that's not embarrassing to say. I did the same thing.
I mean,
that's all right.
I idolized him.
Yeah.
I idolized him. I mean, from when I was 13 years old, I got in trouble with a Shylock because I was a degenerate. You know, I was gambling.
Well, let me stop you. Let me stop you again. I don't mean to cut you off because I want people to say, because you just knocked the shit out of yourself. The reason why you idolized him, and this is the part, and you love your dad. Your dad was in the street his whole life.
Yeah, Whole life.
So this is what you were brought up around, just like the rest of us, another million kids. And we learned to follow the street instead of following a legitimate businessman or somebody, whether you like them or not, you're wearing Donald Trump's hat, president. Instead of following people like this, we follow and we grow up around street guys. So it's not unusual that you are looking up to a guy that your father was very close with as a kid. So there's nothing unusual about that. But the people out there don't know why. So that's why I brought it up.
It's, maybe like Gene said, maybe it is embarrassing because my kids are going to eventually find out that I don't want them idolizing people like this. I don't want I did. And I started idolizing him at a very, very young age. When I was 13 years old, to make a long story short, I borrowed money from a Shylock. I couldn't pay him. Obviously, I'm 13. He threatened me. So my father was best friends with Patsy. Their whole life. My father had the most number of stores in the Bronx. My father was one of the most well-respected people on the street. Patsy loved him. So my father took me to Patsy at 13. Now, I'm sitting at a table in his restaurant at 13, and, my father's telling him the story. The guy, my son fucked up, but the guy's threatening him. So Patsy, he digests things very, he's a scary dude to sit with, man. He's a really scary dude. And he digested it, and he said, young man.
But here's again, he wasn't scary enough for whether it was Victor or anybody else.
Right.
So again, there's a million tough guys on the street, and I'm not saying that kid, that the guy did it, Victor. So I'm going to say that too, because I don't know who did it.
I don't know who did it neither.
But anybody, whoever did it, wasn't too afraid of him, and that's this life. And I want to say something else. A 14-year-old kid can pull that trigger. So for people that don't understand what's out there, the respect goes as far as one bullet.
And I don't even think Frankie Locke would pay Albanians to kill his son. I don't even think that's.
Listen, I don't want to
believe that story. They usually don't attack kids. People's sons.
God rest the kid's soul, Gene. Nobody deserves to get killed over anything, even if their father did it. But I will tell you this little tidbit that I was never able to prove because I didn't know him. I didn't know the kid. I did hear that he was not a very nice kid.
How old was he when he died? About
18 or 19 years old, and he was very cocky because at that point his father was running things. He was that was his street. Westchester was his. So does that? And there is a rumor that these two had words previous to that. Nothing about Frankie Loke. So we don't. Nobody really knows the story.
Right.
Nobody could prove Frankie Loke sent these guys, but. Regardless, John, hit the nail on the head. There was what would make me think that this guy. I'm not his blood. What was he? What made me think that he was ever going to? And in the end, you find out that and I really want to get this message across because it took me years, 3 years working as a cooperator, of them telling me, listen, these people don't like you. They don't like you. They're using you. And I kept saying, no, Patsy's, he's like a father to me. He does everything. If I have to have a sit down, I win them all the time. I always win.
Well, you're making him money. Of course he's going to protect you.
He doesn't like you.
Right.
And towards the end of the investigation, I realized that he didn't give a shit whether I lived or died. This is before he knew I told on him. Because they wanted nothing to do with him at the end. They were finished with him. They had enough. So they said, you're not going there no more. Just disappear. He never called. He never called. Where are you? How are you? You alive? You dead? Never heard from him. Because there was no more money.
Right.
They don't care. They just don't care about you. You're as good as your last earn. And that's it. Or in other people's cases that are doing the violence for them, you're as good as the last guy you gave a beating to or killed. If they don't need you, you're dead. You're done. They don't exist to you. They don't have any heart. They lack feeling. That's it. That's just the way it is. And that's the way I feel. It took me a long time to realize it. I really thought that this guy loved me.
Oh.
I
lived the same way as you, buddy. The guy I looked up to wouldn't even give his first cousin money for his lawyer. And this
Yeah.
guy is his captain. And he told him, "Oh, guy's making $50,000 a week. Won't give him $1 for his lawyer." So that goes to show you they don't care. We had to pay for Jerry Sarah's lawyer because his own nephew, his own cousin, won't give him $1. That's how
And
they
John,
are.
And both you, John and Gene, I can't begin to tell you. Listen, yous were both big earners, I know, but I can't begin to tell you the amount of money before I cooperated that I gave him, and I can't begin to tell you how much money the government gave him, supposed tributes, and it was just expected. It was just expected, and I got messages like Patsy said, why was the Christmas package so small? He had no shame. Like, he wasn't even embarrassed to let you know that, you weren't given enough money. I mean, it's treacherous. I mean, it's just a treacherous life. I mean, I was never involved in the Bloods, the Crips, but I can't imagine it's any better. The Mafia is brutal.
Well, the business world is treacherous. Legitimate business world is treacherous. So what do you think
Right.
you're going to get from the street? I had guys that were around me, bunch of guys, couldn't make 2 cents. So they loved me because I made them all money, right? I made them all rich. Well, when I went to prison, they all either stole from me or ran away or cooperated against me. That's just the life of the street. The reality of breaking the cycle, teaching your kids, us teaching other kids. Felix, one of the interests why people wonder why he sat in on this, because we discussed the message. The message is to break the cycle for kids. And explain to kids that we're going to give you real stories from different people involved in either robberies, bookmaking, killing, Wall Street, MS-13s, everything we're bringing to everybody. Bloods. It doesn't matter. Latin Kings, a friend of mine, Chuck, that did the show, and the same thing is for all of us, for all the politicians, all the ball players, anybody who lives in the inner cities, is to tell them, listen, this life doesn't last very long. There is no loyalty. Do the right thing, take the right path, and go to school, go to work, and follow positive people, not this negative stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the first interview I've done, and if it's the first and the last, I really want kids to know, even adults. I mean, even if you're an adult, I mean, you got to get out of this. I mean, yeah, maybe you'll go broke for a while. Maybe you won't earn. Maybe you won't have the power. But you will not win. You just won't win. You're gonna die in jail, die on the streets, or go to jail for a long time. It's just not worth it. I mean, and I feel bad for these kids because something. The higher ups, these younger kids, they idolize them, and they don't give. It's the same situation that they don't give a damn. They don't care about these kids.
Right.
I mean, it just sticks for them, and beating sticks. I mean, do this, go get this from me, kill this guy, beat this. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Hey, John, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, talk about the daily, I don't know, routine of when you're cooperating. Like, what a wire looks like during that time period. I know it's developed over the years. And what your interaction then with, the feds is like, how that whole thing kind of works. Because I don't think, we see like movies and people wear wires, what that looks like in the movies, but we don't know what it looks like in reality.
All right. Well, the wire question, you're going to have to wait till June 29th for me to answer that, because I can't. I mean, it's like what I can tell you about the wires is you would never know I had it on. You could pat me down. You could strip me naked. You weren't going to find it. It was embedded in clothing.
I thought you were going to say it was embedded up your ass.
No,
So they ain't going to find it there.
no, it's embedded.
I got to joke a little, make a little fun.
No, it's truly remarkable. And we're going back now. What? I mean, I've been jailed 2 years, home 2 years. We're going back 6-7 years ago, and who knows what they have now? But I've used some intricate devices.
Well, put it like this: when they want you, they want you. There's no stopping them.
Right.
Unlimited resources, and they just don't stop.
And a daily day with them wasn't too great between me and them. We didn't get along. I mean, that's the best I could put it. We didn't get along.
Well, you actually worked for a long time then. I didn't realize you were doing this for this long, and you still did 2 years of prison. And the guy that was involved with the drugs with Joey Molino and the thing, he only did 5 years. So actually, he cut some deal himself. Was he a cooperator or no?
No. Well, more back to Felix, you know, and to ingrain your question is I almost ruined the case, and I regret it. I mean, listen, I'm not here to brag about it. You know, it was another mistake in my life that, you know, I just couldn't get over it. But that case was, I mean, over 150. It was supposed to be over 150 indictments, and if you did any research, or I could tell you that most people didn't get a lot of time because of that, and that's because I fucked up. I mean, I almost felt like I could be a better criminal because I worked for them, because I knew they weren't watching me. I knew that, I mean, I was committing more crimes when I was working for them than when I was on the street, and they were paying me. They were paying me $15,000 a month, and I was making another $15,000 a month committing crimes.
You were getting $15,000 a month?
Yeah, and you know, that's another thing that I'm glad that you brought that up. Is
I didn't bring it up, but
well, I brought it up. Well, I mean, no, you asked me about it, so I'll tell you that, you know, on the stand, and my friend that we've spoke to, I'm not gonna mention his name, that, you know, continues to slander me and doesn't know his ass from his elbow. He keeps saying how much you get paid. Well, now, people have to take this into consideration, and this will also help answer Felix's question, is when you get caught and you're a criminal like I was, I had a lot of money. My house bills alone were $8,000 a month. I had 4 cars, and I was living in Scarsdale.
Right.
So now, the feds can't just move you into a shack at that point. You got to continue to live the lifestyle. You have to look good.
Well, they took all my money. I didn't get no lifestyle.
Right.
They just took it.
Well, so that 8,000 of that 15,000 that they were paying me a month were just to pay my house bills, because you have to give them copies of all your bills. So, and the other 7,000 was for them to put me on the streets and continue to buy dinners, continue to buy drinks. So, and it's taxable. So this guy goes on there and tells people, this piece of shit getting 50. I didn't profit a penny off of that. I used it to pay my bills because I couldn't be a criminal anymore, and I had to do their dirty work, pay for dinners and everything. It's not what he makes it out to be, this guy. You're not getting...
Without saying who this guy is he a big earner, the guy? Does he have a lot of money?
He's a jerk-off. No, he has nothing.
He's a homeless guy. He looks homeless. Oh, my God.
Yeah, he looks homeless. Yeah, he looks homeless. You know, he's been doing this, whatever racket he's been doing, and for 8-10 years, and I think he's got 600 people that follow him. I mean, on Instagram and Twitter. I mean, he's...
All right, when we get off the air, I want to know who you're talking about. I won't ask on the air because you're not saying his name.
I have also...
but, you know, to answer, you know, that's I mangled the case. I mean, I literally mangled the case. I mean, I deserved more than 2 years. I mean, and that's why they put me in jail. I stood home for 8 months after the case was over, and I was always told, no judge in the world could ever put you in jail after what you've done here for 6 years. But little did I know that I'm lucky I even had an agreement, John. I mean, it should have been ripped. I mean, I completely...
Your case was out of where? New York, right?
Southern District. Southern District.
And John, quick question for you. How's it work also? I mean, you know, you mentioned your wife, and how, I mean, what does that do for your family when you're cooperating? I mean, she's aware of everything? Do they inform her? I mean, how's that work?
No, but I told her the day I got caught, because, I mean, I'm a fortunate person that, you know, 20 years married, and she knew from day one when I made that decision. And
you know, you ever watch The Honeymooners? She knew from day one she was getting the worst of it.
Yeah, she knew. Yeah, she got the worst of it for sure.
Hey, John, you didn't get along with your prosecutors and your agents? I got along with mine really good. I had good prosecutors and agents.
Prosecutors?
Yeah, you didn't get along with them?
I'm voted most hated witness by the prosecutor. And this is the truth. This is
Really?
an office thing.
Oh, they love me, my
had to-
prosecutors.
They had to take. There was 5 prosecutors. They had to take them off the case and put somebody else on because it was war. I mean, I had all women. Not that I'm knocking women, but
So did I.
mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it didn't go over very well, and
Yeah.
so I happened to get when the trial started, or with prepping, I got probably the luckiest thing I could have ever got. I got a guy that was just aces, and he got me time served. I mean, he took abuse at my sentencing. Abuse. It was nothing about my sentencing. And Judge Sullivan, I thought, was a really fair judge and everything, but very strict. And it wasn't really about my sentencing that day. I mean, he used that opportunity to abuse the prosecutor.
Right.
He was dead set against not retrying Joey. Dead set. He said they wasted the government's time, they wasted people's time, and it was a complete bashing. And his only answer to him every time he got bashed was that Mr. Rubio, he just kept praising me.
Who was Joey's lawyer at that time?
Jacobs and Merlingo.
Oh, Merlingo. Merlingo was also John Gotti Jr.'s lawyer.
He hired Merlingo after the fact, but Jacobs has been his lawyer from the beginning of time.
Well, I know who Jacobs is, but obviously I'm familiar with Merlingo because he's a great attorney, actually. He's a top attorney. He defended John Gotti Jr. So I'm going to reach out to him and try to get him on the show, actually. But, he's my adversary, but I got a lot of respect for him because he's a top attorney. He handled a lot of top cases in this city, Philadelphia, and some other areas. So
Jacobs a bull.
Jacobs I know. I don't. I wasn't involved with him. So
Jacobs was tough. He was tough. He had the right questions, and listen, like I said, I mean, I mangled that case. I mean, it's that is embarrassing. I mean, I mangled that case. I mean, guys that were supposed to get serious time. Not that I don't want anybody to go to jail, but they had to let him go. I mean, not let him go. They took a felony, but no. I mean, I mangled it. I committed Hobbs robbery.
Oh, you're lucky, man. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I say it now. I mean, I had a Hobbs robbery while I was cooperating, gambling. I mean, if I gave you my rap sheet, I mean.
So you did pretty good with 2 years. I take that back.
Right. Honestly, he did because.
Yeah, you did pretty good.
Yeah,
I know guys that got
good.
caught lying and got like extra 6-7 years for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, forget about it. I shouldn't have. I literally shouldn't have had an agreement. It should have been torn.
And you have kids now, right? How old are your kids?
11 and 5.
All right, so you need to obviously do the right thing by your kids and do the right. Listen, nobody's perfect
over.
in life, and people that throw rocks. I guarantee you, if you throw a rock through their window, you'll see a lot too. But you got to do the right thing with your kids now. You had the opportunity, and that's where you start again.
Yeah, I believe me. I'm sure it's hard for people to believe, but I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'll live home. I'm done with the crime. It's over. I won't speed. I don't want no problems with these people no more. I want them out of my life. Listen, they did right by me in the end. They didn't rip my agreement up. I did the two. Listen, they had no choice but to put me in jail. I mean,
you better take that hat off. You might have a problem. He finds out you're wearing his hat. he's gonna say
he don't like cooperators. But yeah, I mean, I mangled it. I mangled the case, and I felt bad. A lot of manpower, a lot of money went into it, and listen, I mangled it. I did some bad things. I mean, I wasn't out there committing crime every day, but I did some stupid things, and I deleted. I had a phone. So bad what I did. My wife. I had a phone, and I'm home. I'm home where I relocated, and my agent calls me and said, "Listen, mail us the phone." So I don't know. I was just bitter with them. I was always bitter with them. So I said, "Yeah, you know what? I'm going to mail them the phone, but I'm going to factory reset it before I send it.
Oh man.
So I did.
Well,
So
you're mad at them because you're not really willing to admit yet that,
Yeah.
you know, you're looking at them that they wrecked your life. You're not taking the blame yourself, saying you wrecked your own life. And, you know, that's understandable. I ain't no psychologist, but it's easy, you know, psychology.
And then, so now,
and
now
actually, I can analyze you pretty good.
They shrink now.
so now on top of all the other shit I did, I just destroyed evidence that they
my
needed.
God. You are lucky. Oh my God.
I destroyed the evidence. So
Wow.
I mean,
I changed their
I don't
mind.
know.
They should have asked, one of the agents should have asked Stevie Cree, you know, can you add another fucking attempted murder trying to kill this guy?
Holy
it was,
shit.
but you know, at the same time, I mean, it just goes to show you, everybody else had pled out. They could have ripped my agreement. That just goes to show everybody how important Joey was to them. That's how important he was to the FBI.
Yeah, he's the only gangster left in Philly. He's like one guy. He want him bad.
I mean, they wanted him badly. I mean, they wanted him. This was it. It might have been their last chance. I mean, I don't know.
Did they ever try to
but-
switch him over to New York? Did they ever try to make him like a captain in any five families? Did you ever hear about that? No?
No. But, you know, and then, you know, there's always little tricks that go on with this cooperating. So now they're trying to get me to get him to go to Patsy and him take me. Because I'm gonna get made in a second with him. I'm giving him so much money. I mean, that's gonna be a no-brainer. So he's very funny, and he says, Kujin, why the fuck do you want to come with me? He says, you got the best of it. He says, you got me, you got Patsy, and you got Rooster. Who's bothering you? He says, why you want to come with just me? He says, you have everybody. He said, don't be silly. But, you know, he was right. You know, he was sharp. You know, the thing with me is that'll never happen to him again. He's not going to fall for 3 years of someone because the money. He's greedy. The money. He's all about the Benjamins.
Well, I don't think he's greedy. I just think that he doesn't have a lot of money. So he's always,
chasing
because
the
he
dollar.
gambles a lot like crazy. He runs around. He likes to party around. You know, he likes to have fun. He's like he's one of those guys. He's not a boring guy. I mean,
God,
you know,
no.
so I know him since he was younger, you know, and I don't have a great relationship, but, you know, we knew each other. But, you know, I stayed with Turchi and, you know, some of these guys that, so he has a reputation of having a lot of fun. I mean, you know, so when you're having a lot of fun and you're gambling, those two things means your pockets are empty a lot. So that gave you his vulnerability to get in with him, I guess.
Yeah, he likes to. He's fun.
Yeah.
He's fun. I mean, listen, if you asked me,
Well, he's a far cry from Patsy. You got Patsy inside that's miserable. He wants to
forget
throw
about
darts
it.
at himself,
Forget
and
about
you
it.
got Joey that wants to be in strip clubs.
I mean,
So,
if someone were to ask me who
but-
my favorite wise guy was in my career, it's him.
Yeah.
I mean,
All
by
old
far.
timers are like that though. They're all
Oh,
miserable,
God.
old, bitter. You can't joke around near them. They got the mean
Forget
murder
about
face
it.
on all day. They sit there like that. You know, that's
That's
they're
how
all
he.
like
Yeah,
that.
that's what he did. That's
Yeah.
basically what he did all day.
Felix like this took the murder one face all day. Look,
Yeah.
that's how they
You
are.
know,
All
Maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night, after 5 or 6 bottles of wine, he might start loosening up. But you know, like a guy like Joey, you know, you could break his balls. I mean, you know, you could literally have a little fun with him, you know, without him being that wise guy.
Well,
you know,
I said this plenty of times on other shows and interviews. You know, I think Joey, the reason why he got well liked, he's close with all his friends, some of his childhood friends.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
a regular guy to hang out with. They joked, they laughed, they play sports, they played softball, football, you know, different things. So, you know, they're a regular crew of guys. It's not like, you know, you'd consider like a mob guy with that mentality. They had a different mentality. So I think people, you know, took to him a lot. And he had that personality
I
to
mean,
play around.
I liked him. I mean, I knew I was going to like this guy in the first hour I sat with him. I mean, you know, he's in every nightclub that you can imagine in Boca. I mean, the entourage. I mean, it's just they just keep coming. They just keep. I swear that they're sending out mass texts because we used to go to the cigar bar. He used to call me up and say, "Kujin, let's go to the cigar bar. You know, I want to have a couple of beers." So before you know it, I mean, there's like 3 of us in there, and then there's 100 of us. I mean, and he loves it. I mean, he loves it. He's a lot of fun. I mean, you know, he's a character, and people people love them. Women forget about it. They love them. They love them. That was another. It wasn't a slip up. I mean, the defense lawyer baited me into it, and they didn't get the answer they wanted. So they're talking about this drug rep, and they're saying, well, he doesn't even know this girl. How can you say that? I said to Jacobs, I said, he doesn't know her. He called me to his house one day and said, take that girl's number out of his phone. He got caught fucking her. I said, so what do you mean he doesn't know her? And that made the front page of every paper in New York. And he went to the New York Post after that day in court and begged them not to put the girl's name in the story. But they're not going to.
He doesn't mind if they put in 2 murders, but he doesn't want a sex scandal.
Yeah, I mean,
that's priceless too.
He was a lot of fun, and so was Rooster. Rooster was an old timer, but
Yeah, we got to hear this. Hold on one second. Let's hear this.
Yeah.
Let's hear this call.
This is a global tel-link prepaid call from an inmate at the Camden County Correctional Facility. This call will be monitored and recorded. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To hear the... Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Hello?
Mine did the same voice.
No, I'm on the air right now. We're doing a show, but you're calling from prison, so it's not a bad thing because we're talking about how to stay out of jail.
No, I was telling somebody else about something else. I wasn't saying bullshit to you.
All right. Well, I'm on radio right now, and you're being listened to across the country.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Tell him I said hi, okay?
All right. Well, I'll talk to you after I get off the air. I hope everything's good over there. And yes, the commissary's in and the tablet money's in.
All right, thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Love you. See you.
I'll call you later.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye. So, and I'm trying to reach a lot of kids, right? And honestly, it's good to have that on the air because
absolutely.
that's my oldest son. So everything that I'm trying to do, I try to keep it real with him too, so he never goes back there again. And so I understand. Listen, and that's why I'm talking about kids all the time because, the last thing you want to see is any of our kids go back in, your child, the message got to be real. It's all joking, it's fun. Some of the stuff we laugh. You can't say I'm trying to be as honest as I can to the public, and you can too. Be a lot of the times you have with a guy like Joey because Joey's a fun guy. When we used to hit the street, we had a good time, all of us on the street, partying, drinking, after hours, girls. But that's not the reality of the life. That's just that little fraction of what everybody sees.
Yeah.
The rest, 99.9% is misery, treachery, murder, not being able to sleep, people trying to kill you, the FBI all over you, trying to lock you up constantly. It's no way to live.
Yeah, and you know something, John? It's funny you said that because you're right. It's a very small percentage, but even those times where you are having fun and you're out there, it's still tension. It's still, it's fun, yeah, and all, but something. It's not fun. No, it's not normal fun.
I guess it's jail day. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
All right, go ahead.
No, we're not going to take this call. Another jailhouse call. I get a lot of them actually from different people that I try to talk to and help and set them straight, really. So that's one of them.
Let me just run the quick ad from
Okay.
Manscaped.
I want to ask you something when he's done, John.
So support for the Johnny and Gene Show comes from Manscaped. Manscaped is dedicated to helping you level up your full body grooming game. John, we'll hook you up over there. And you're in Vegas?
Yes.
All right, we'll hook you up with some Manscaped after that. But they have forever changed the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0. And their Perfect Package 3.0 kit comes with the Essential Lawn Mower 3.0, which is a waterproof cordless body trimmer that has a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your manscaping routine. This is the best trimmer on the market for those of you in need of a chest shave as well. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, and thanks to their advanced skin safe technology pioneered by Manscaped, they will help you do so. You can also adjust to get a length that you like, and you can stay on top of it with almost no effort at all. Go to manscaped.com today and use promo code JG, and you'll receive 20% off and free shipping. Again, go to manscaped.com, use that promo code for the show, JG. You'll receive 20% off, free shipping. Go check it out today. Gentlemen, your balls and I guess your chest hair will thank you.
I think that 3.0, don't use that if you were using that wire on your balls. You want it to grow so they can't see it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, make sure to check out Alite Sports too. We got the good picks for you. All right, alitesports.com.
Gene, I know you had a question for John.
Yeah, you know, John, what you were saying about Joey Molino partying and everything and people looking at that and loving that, I could relate to that because that's how I got influenced by it. And also when I became the guy and I was partying, going out, I had the younger kids wanting to get down with me because they seen just that. But I also tell them what comes with it. You know what I'm saying? There's so much more that comes with that. And I like that you said that. It's so true because they get caught up on living the high life. But there's so much more that comes with living that high life. You know what I mean? So that's such a good thing that they need to really see that. Yeah. That's a small part of it, like he said. That's nothing real. That's not the Mafia. That's just a small little piece of it.
Well, he took 300,000 off of his guy, so he didn't party around with if people are listening and thinking it's 2,000 or 5,000.
Right.
He was drinking champagne in every major strip club in Miami. 300,000 worth.
When I was doing scores, I was doing big scores. You know what I'm saying? So kids seen that, but I says, you know, I'm risking 20 years, 30 years in prison for these scores. You know what I mean? And things. I was robbing gangsters on top of it. So you know, and you got beef also. So
I know.
One guy told me. Wait. One guy goes. I thought wise guys meant you couldn't touch them. He goes, I guess you just didn't follow that. I says, no, I didn't. I says, those are the guys I went after.
But Gene, you make a good point because that 3-4 hours at night was great. It was fun, but the other 10 hours during the day of him constantly texting me, Kujin, I'm down on my luck. Kujin, my kid needs a Mac. Kujin, we got to get something going. Who do you got tonight? He wanted to know who I bet that night so he would know if I won.
Wait, so his earn was betting sports? That was his earn?
He hooked me up with a couple of bookmakers out there. And again, at that point, I don't know anything about Joey Molino. Other than that, I don't know his MO. I don't know that he doesn't pay anybody. I don't know that his biggest hate in life is bookmakers. He said it. He doesn't pay them. He thinks that they're the worst criminals in the world, he said. He doesn't pay them.
I guess he wasn't a bookie? I don't understand that. That's crazy.
Well, what happened is, you know, he hooked me up with a couple of good bookmakers there, and I lasted about 3 days, and, you know, they didn't like the work. They chased me, whatever the case may be. But I didn't know what his, you know, and I was happy to get the accounts because I was also gambling behind the FBI's back too. I was still doing my sports business. So I didn't mind to give them because I needed the accounts. But, you know, then I didn't have any accounts through him anymore, but he knew I was still gambling. So every day would be like, who do you got? 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 And you start to realize that he's not rooting for me because he likes me. He wants to know what my figure is at the end of the week so he can grab what he can grab from me. So, you know, and, you know, like I said, the Mac, the FBI ended up buying it for him, you know, tribute, you know, but he always wanted money.
Yeah, they all
that
do.
was the topic of discussion with him is, I need this, I need that. And it was not $100, John. It was, I need 5 dimes. I need 5,000. I can't, bro. I used to tell him, you're not talking about a couple. You're asking for 10,000 at a clip here. I used to tell him, are you crazy?
Oh man.
So.
Oh, he's like Vinny Asaro. I got.
No, he never has money.
He's like Uncle Vin.
The figures that he used to ask for were like, I mean, come on. I mean,
no, he's never going to have money is because he gambles the way he does. So, you know, I don't know any gambler that has money. I mean, I grew up with my father was a big gambler. So you have those times when you hit, but overall, you're always digging in the hole. So,
hey, John, I have a quick question for you as well. Going back to cooperating, I mean, was there ever a fear for you?
Are you wearing a wire? You're really trying to find out how you do this.
It's interesting. No,
no, I'm kidding.
But is it like I'm just trying to get into like the psychological part. Is there a constant paranoia? I mean, are you fearing that the people that you're trying to catch on tape, if they find out that you're wearing a wire, are they could they hurt you? Is there were you ever close, or maybe there was a slip up or something like that?
The first 6 months I was petrified.
Yeah.
I mean, petrified. Like, I knew that they couldn't see it, but I felt like they could, and just completely petrified. I mean, I would go in the bathroom sometimes at the restaurant and just like shut it off, and not because I was hiding. I was literally shitting my pants. I mean, and I would put it in my car. I wouldn't do this anymore. I couldn't do it. And then I got to be honest with you. After that, you start realizing that it's not even there anymore. You don't even know it. It just becomes habit. But there was one instance that, I was a little worried about that, and the FBI had to act. Actually, there was Patsy liked to play music in his restaurant, and he was always complaining about the speakers, and so we had this like weekly meeting. Had to go into the FBI office, strategize, all this other nonsense. And so we came up with this idea that we were going to tell Patsy, we have a gift for you. We're going to put speakers all over your restaurant. So now keep in mind, I mean, somebody else asked me this. I mean, amazing that I was able to get away. This is how trusted I was. I mean, by these people. I mean, nobody. I'm sure that this came as a major shock to everybody that got arrested. I mean, nobody ever even questioned me. Nothing. I never got patted, never asked. So it's got to be done after hours when he closes. So he gives me the keys to the restaurant. I mean, go ahead. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So he had a lot of meetings in the basement, when he wanted to scold people, or, it was in the basement, fucking dreary basement too, man. It was scary place. When he called you down there, man, I used to shit my pants, even though I knew nothing was going to happen to me, but it was scary. Anyway, so now they're putting these, I'm going in after, it takes about a week. They're putting speakers in. I mean, they're putting good speakers in. They're also putting wires everywhere. I mean, everywhere in the restaurants. So July 1st to July 10th, for the last 20 years, Patsy closes the restaurant for renovations. And he does it all himself. He doesn't hire anybody. I mean, the guy's a bull, 70 years old. I mean, he's just a bull. So
and you don't want to pay for it either. They have like, which all of Arthur Avenue does. I mean, in the restaurants, they have like a rat problem, not my kind of rat, but real rodents. So he's ripping everything apart. He's going to put new ceiling tiles in, and then here come the wires. So now he calls me, and I said, oh man, I'm fucked, man. I'm going to get killed. So he says, look what the fuck, and he's like my friend. He says, look at what these motherfuckers did here, man. They wired up the whole place. So he takes them down, he takes them down, and he puts them in like a cabinet. So he just briefly asked me, you sure you know those guys that installed those speakers? So I said, yeah, a bunch of black guys that I know from the neighborhood. I said, they're DJs and stuff. Yeah, I said, they don't know what a wire is. And he says, who knows when these son of a bitches put this thing in? It might be, the cleaning crew let them in or something. So now I'm off the hook. So the FBI has to do something at this point, because there still might be suspicion. So they send somebody from like the building department, and they give Buddy like this bullshit subpoena, and they tell Patsy, you have a couple of things that belong to us. So he goes in the cabinet and gives it back to them. And they leave. And the subpoena was a bullshit. It went nowhere. It was just to try to distract them from me. And it worked. And then we never heard about it again. But, yeah, in the beginning, it was the most afraid I've ever been in my life, yeah. I mean, especially around a guy like him, yeah. I mean, Buddy was just, to me, he was just a stone cold killer. That's it. And he was the type of guy like Gene. I've read a lot about Gene. I've talked to Gene. Persistent. If he wanted you,
this son of a bitch was going to sit in front of your house for 10 days if he had to, until you came out or until he found you.
I used to camp out with chips and a soda, just sitting there like this. Look.
That was it.
The other day, I told him to come over. He waited 2 weeks to have breakfast with me.
Yeah. I mean, like, and the strange thing about Buddy is, and you know, I'm sure a lot of people, John, you said you know of him. I mean, this guy was the real deal.
My father knew him. He was from Canarsie.
Yeah.
I think he's from Canarsie originally, though.
If he wasn't,
I don't know if he was
Beast. I think he's from Canarsie.
no, well, I'm talking about Buddy.
Oh, I didn't mean to
Corey.
say Beast. Oh, I didn't mean to
Right.
say. Oh,
I
Beast.
mean, if you do some research on Buddy, I mean, this guy was the real deal. Like, I mean, tough guy with his hands, kill you in a second, and he never got close with anybody. And by some miracle, I became like his priest. I mean, he would tell me, you know, we would go in the pizzeria, Catania's next door. He would call me up, and I'm talking about hours and things that you would never think if you knew this guy personally. You couldn't get a peep out of him about anybody. He was telling me people's positions, and, you know, Danny Pagano just became the street boss of the Genovese at the time. You know, things that, you know, and I'm saying to myself, man, this guy doesn't realize that he's recording live here. I'm saying, you know, and it hurt him, you know. I mean, he got the brunt of him, and well, Patsy pled to 5 years. I mean, which was a gift.
That's nice.
The judge,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that's nothing really for what you
5
what you're doing with
years.
him.
Oh my
well,
God.
especially that he had just done 10 years ago.
Right.
But the judge went over. The judge went over on him, gave him 8. Buddy got 60 months. Most guys did nothing. Rooster got 3 years. Joey got 3 years.
Were you involved in a Stevie Korea case or no?
No, I wasn't. But
He was, because one of the guys he was plotting to hit, I think he got charged with, was that Sean Richards that was around me a little bit, and his father-in-law was the boss of the Cavalcanti family, Riggy.
Right.
So I don't
That-
know. I don't really know what happened with him with this case, but I heard that.
that Meldnish murder happened about 2 years into me cooperating, and you know, I dug around for them because you don't have. You know, the problem is that if they tell you to do it, you could go back and lie to them and say you didn't do it, but they're going to listen to the tape and know you didn't do it. So you might as well just get it over with and do it. You know. So I dug around, and I never came up with Stevie or any of them that did it or anything like that. But I was cooperating when that happened, and
well, we're going to address that murder on one of the shows
Yeah.
we did. That's going to come out shortly. We'll discuss it.
My good friend
and
was a part of that. Yeah.
Ronnie the Beast was was part of the Purple Gang, as was Anthony Zinzi. So they were close with Meldnish, but I never met him. I don't know much about him or anything, but I was cooperating when he got killed. But you know, and Anthony Zinzi was another guy that was in that crew, Patsy's crew, right-hand man. And you know,
Hey, you know what I know? I want to say, you know what I noticed? A lot of the Purple Gang guys end up becoming made guys. Mikey Knows was a Purple Gang guy. A lot of them start off with Purple Gang and they go into the mob. You know, a lot of them.
And Anthony Zinzi, you know, he did 2 murder bids. You know, he got out or whatever. I don't know, attempted murders, whatever he did. But he was an older man, and he was Patsy's right. And I probably going to get in trouble for this, but I've been in trouble my whole life. So I thought he got a raw deal. We're getting 60 months because, you know, he was so old. He was harmless at that time, and I was doing some card games with him, and we had a rival club up the street, the club that me and Patsy opened up, and you know, they were in business 100 years, though, and we were having trouble getting customers. So one time Anthony Zinzi said to me, you know, it'd be nice if that fucking kid's car burns down, you know, goes on fire. It was a joke. But before I was cooperating, I didn't take it as a joke, and I wanted to impress these people because that's the mentality you have. I blew the kid's car up.
Right.
And
so for a guy that ain't violent, you did a little violence. A guy that doesn't do anything,
listen, I
you
don't-
blew a car up. So
You beat up a
guys-
bum almost to death. I think you got some violence.
You guys, I don't hold a candle to your guys' asses. But listen, that's to me. I just want to let people know that's not ballsy. That doesn't mean you have balls because I lit.
No,
there was
no,
no one in it.
we're just making.
Yeah,
light
we're
of
joking.
it.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying I threw some gas in the car. I had 2 guys with me, and they threw a match in it, and it blew up. I mean, to me, it's a pussy move, actually. You know something? And that's what I want people to know. That's a pussy move. That's what it was, and I'm man enough to admit it.
Yeah.
You know what? I should have slapped the kid. If I was lighting his car on fire, what did I prove? But I wanted to impress Zinzi.
Yeah.
So they ended up jamming this poor guy up because he made a joke, and they put him away for arson.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it was a joke. I mean,
Now-
it's too bad.
Now, John, just to wrap things up, I mean, just to go back to, I guess, the ultimate message of this show is to keep young kids out of crime and people that are in that crime life now, even to get out. I guess, talk about, I guess, your final message on changing your life around, and how, maybe for that kid out there that doesn't really know how to get out, or that kid out there that just got out of jail and is trying to stay away from that life again and going back into it. Do you have a best piece of advice on how you've dealt with it, how you've integrated as a normal member of society again?
Yeah, I came home. I was messed up. I couldn't sleep. It took me a while to get adjusted. I mean, I spent 6 months in the hole, 24 hours a day in MCC, and it took me a while, but I was depressed. But, John gave me some advice the other day, and I have used it previous to that, is that I look at my boys and I will never, ever leave them again. Ever in my life, unless I pass away, God forbid, or something, but it won't be for crime. And people need to know that when you get out, you asked me about people that just get out, you do have people in your corner. You may not think so, but you got family. Somewhere along the line, you have family. Someone's going to support you. And I could tell everybody that 13 to 40, I committed crime. I was a bad person. 40 to 45, which I am now, I've never been happier. I love my kids. I have a better relationship with my wife. I have a great relationship with my wife. I wasn't there for my kids. I mean, my wife was raising them. I mean, that's the message. And you have to get out. You have to get out. I don't care what you're making, what kind of power you have. You just got to realize that, hey, listen, if you're going to stock shelves, you're going to go home at night and you're going to go to sleep. And you don't have to look over your shoulder. I mean, that's just the bottom line. My father told me when I got out, and there was no more man disappointed in me than what I did, and stuck by my side, God rest his soul, in spite of putting his best friends away. Came and visited me, dying of emphysema on the oxygen machine, supported my wife while I was away. And he used to call me every day when I got out of jail, every day. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. Just don't go backwards. You'll figure it out. And in the end, these kids or adults that are in the life, you will figure it out. It's called human nature. You'll figure it out. I figured it out. And knock on wood, I'm not rich, but I have a decent home. I have a car. My kids have what they want, and I'm comfortable. And I can leave my house. I don't have to worry about any sirens anymore. I have to worry about getting killed maybe, but I don't have any sirens worrying about that. And it's a happy life. And my father was right, and he was right my whole life. I'm sorry I didn't listen to him more often, but he really was supportive when I got home. And he said, you'll figure it out. Go to Home Depot. Go to Lowe's. Get a job. That's it. You'll be happier, he said. You'll be a better father. You'll be a better husband if you just do what I tell you to do. And he was right. I mean, he was right.
Well, thanks, John, for everything, and we
Yeah.
appreciate.
Thank you. Thank you.
We wish you the best. And
I know
it's
you
a
do.
good message to the kids and the people that are listening. People that want to follow me. It's my website, johnalite.com. My new Instagram is John Alite Officially, and alitsports.com for the people that are looking for the winning bet. And Gene, what's your Instagram?
GeneBoy666 You can follow me, people.
And
Feel very
mine
intrigued
is
by-
at Felix.Levine, and you can
How
follow.
fitting.
Yeah, we got to change that. And then the Instagram for the show is the Johnny and Gene Show. And follow us. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, of course. Subscribe there. And yeah, thank you so much, John, for taking the time. And we wish you the best.
Thank you for having me. And I just want to let John and Gene know that I got the utmost respect for you guys. And, you know, I'm happy to call you friends. Really, I mean, I really do.
Thank you. Appreciate
thanks,
that.
buddy.
I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's. I really do. You know, you guys are class acts.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you,
We
man.
appreciate it. Just
Yeah.
keep passing it to the kids. Thanks.
Take care, Bo.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
See-